James is a real neat guy, Callie. You should see the four-wheeler he got me.
I'm like, I'm mad.
Little red wagon. Whoopee.
You can't,
Christopher.
you can't see this, can
go
you?
places, and we're not going to take
Yeah, we can.
you. John Ross, that's not nice. But it's true. And I'm really glad I don't have to hang out with you anymore, you little drip.
Yeah, I remember that.
You were having a nice evening home.
You little
We don't
drip.
have to take him with
Call
us.
me a drip.
Do we, Dad?
I don't know who
John
wrote
Ross,
that
we'll
line.
discuss this later.
No way, I won't take him. He's a tag-along geeky creep. We're
Yeah.
pawn scum and toe jam mixed together.
Yeah, you are.
Straight to bed.
He's too young to go out with us.
I said you're
Why
Toe
don't you
jam
go
and pawn
upstairs
scum.
and play with your dolls?
Here we go. Yeah, what's up, fool?
Christopher, come in. Come on, that's enough.
It's not
He
playing.
started, Dad. He started.
Both did, son. Now you apologize. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Christopher.
Me too.
Yeah, see, I wasn't really sorry.
Shake hands and we'll forget the whole thing.
No, I
Mullet.
won't.
Worry about my mullet.
Sexy.
Dude,
Look at that. Look at that.
that might be like... Hold on, I'll talk after. Yeah, throwing darts at you. I remember that.
Look at that. Hair
Yeah, look at that arm.
What was I thinking, dude?
Dude.
Like mud flap like hanging. I still got it.
Bro, mullet. I had the mullet going. We were stylish. I think we were trend setters in like teen bop, right?
It's funny because like Josh and I, that's how we used to treat each other in real life. Always like fighting and just like I would have to beat the crap out of him.
Hey, get in here. Dallas is about to start.
Welcome to the Ewing Barbecue Podcast. As you just saw in that clip, we've got a special presentation today. We haven't been recording in a while because Mary unfortunately had that fire at her business in Michigan, and she's been dealing with that for most of the fall. So we wish Mary well.
Sorry, Mary.
And
Wishing you well.
so
Yes.
on behalf of Mary, our producer, and Brad, and Melanie, and Sarah, and Will, and our South Fork consultant, Jana Tim, we are welcoming, you saw them there in that clip, Omri Katz and Josh Harris from the original Dallas. I wouldn't say the original Christophers and John Rosses, but the ones that everyone remembers the most.
The ones that count. The ones that really
The
count.
ones that count, exactly. So what's
Sure.
up, guys? This is a rare opportunity here for
Yeah, we were gonna
get
say
everybody together.
this is actually the first time Omri and I have ever done a podcast together. We have stayed in touch over the years for quite some time. He's like a brother to me. But I just thought about the fact that we've never had a chance to do this. So this is actually a rarity, and really excited to drum up some old memories.
Like that clip right there that we just opened with. Talk about that. Did you guys have more fun getting along or fighting with each other?
Well,
Go ahead, Omri.
I
Yeah.
was just going to say, the way I see it is like, so we were really the only two youths on set. So we kind of had each other's back. We connected because obviously we had similar things in common. We were young. We were children, adolescents, whatever. And it just, it literally, like Josh said in the beginning, it was like I felt like Josh was my little brother. And taking him under my wing, and same thing, I felt like he looked up to me, and we just kind of like we were there. And ever since then, like even today, our relationship, like even if we drift and don't talk for a while, it's like I could talk to Josh and literally talk to him about anything, like, you know, if it's my personal life or troubles or whatever, because I have that bond and that relationship and that trust that I've had with him since then.
Yeah,
Grateful
yeah,
to
that's
have
well
him.
said.
Grateful to have him in my life still.
Thanks,
Keep in mind,
likewise.
there are two Joshes on here.
you, brother.
Thank God we don't have the full.
Don't try to
we don't have
insert
the-
yourself into our memories, Josh.
You know what?
I
I'll just
know.
Call him, from here on out, I'll call him Christopher.
Oh no.
It's a good thing we don't. It's a good thing we don't have Henderson in here too. Then you have the full J train.
Well, this is yeah, no shade on Henderson, but this is OG. This is like, you know, we this is 1.0, I guess.
This is 1.0 exactly.
Omri got a chance to say niceties, and it's my turn. I did always. Omri was the sort of like the incumbent kid on the show when I came on. He'd been there for a year or two. He'd sort of laid the work of like what it meant to be like an honorable, respected kid actor on a set of adults. So I did really look up to him, but also because I mean Omri had, you know, he's got siblings, but I had two sisters at home, so this is the first chance I had to have like a brother that was good at sports and was doing the same things I was doing in this weird time in our lives that no other kid we could relate to other than kids in the business, and we were very lucky. But it was like, is Omri working today? Awesome, we're doing a scene. Okay, cool. So we knew when we came to set, it was like there was playtime. We could throw the ball around and, you know, punch each other in the arm. But then it was like business time, and it was like, okay, time to get serious. And we did our work. And then, you know, like we went through this like weird experience that, you know, a very small percentage of the planet gets an opportunity to do. And we were each other's like rock, I think, for, you know, 6-7 years. That's a strong bond to build. So that's what I just want to say is like, you know, I have nothing but fond times and memories, and yeah, no time can pass that I don't like be like, oh, I wonder how Omri's doing, or I'll check in and it'll just be like, what's up, dude? So yeah, that was our early days. So go ahead.
And we still clown each other like little like brothers. It's just like, I wouldn't want somebody to see our text thread or some of the.
Well, I just remember like Omri, and again, you're not going to get a question in edgewise on this, Josh, because this is the first opportunity we've had to do this. But I remember Omri was like the first like buddy that I had like sleepovers, like buddy sleepovers. Like I'd go to his house and spend the night. He had a waterbed at like 8 years old or whatever, and like nobody has a waterbed. Like I didn't even know what this thing was, and he was just so like, he was years ahead of himself in terms of like adulthood. He had like Ferraris on the wall, and like he was like a grown-up teenager to me. Like he was only a year or two older than me, and I just was like, who is this guy? And like, for better or worse, he was a role model for a lot of things in that regard. So yeah, no, I have really funny spotty memories of our childhood, dude.
Good.
Who's a waterbed at like 9 years old?
This Playboy right here.
Yeah, it was like a built-in like frame.
Yeah.
It wasn't one of those like mattress ones. It was the C one. It was like, who gets a waterbed?
It had a foam core to prevent like waves a little bit.
No, it didn't. It was just pure water, dude.
But you know, also to caveat off that too is that Josh's family and my family were very close, because we kind of were like, you know, we had each other's backs to make sure, you know, even on set that we were treated right. I think our parents, for the most part, I don't know if we're going to get into all that, but like our parents for the most part had our best interest.
This is not a therapy session, right?
Yeah, this is not. I need to go lay on my couch and issues, but in general, yeah, our families were very close, and we did a lot of activities together. So that also, even offset, like Josh and I had a very like we were homies.
Yeah, for sure. And you'd think like when someone would get a call to do something, whether it's in the industry, it was always like the kids from Dallas. So we always were attached at the hip at like an event or like a charity thing, or like we were thrown together into the pits of this business and really just had each other to like sort of like alleviate some of whatever we were in. It was like, oh, Omri's here, or like we always just kept it fun. Like this was our life, so we didn't really have expectations because we didn't know what the heck we were doing. It's just what we did, and yeah, we had each other, so that was awesome.
Do you guys remember your first time on set? I know, Omri, you've spoken of the being basically thrown in the pool, which actually was filmed 3 times. Tyler Banks filmed it, and then they filmed it with a dummy, and then you. Now I know.
Oh, you mean
Josh
they
Harris-
filmed it twice? Omri
the dummy doesn't
was
count.
actually the dummy. Yeah, the
Or
dummy
I was
was
the dummy.
I was waiting for the punchline there.
Easy, too easy. You're lobbing these, dude.
Did you guys rehearse this prior? Like, we're just gonna walk Omri, and we're gonna back
Yep.
into all these.
I got notes. Yeah,
No.
I chat GPT'd a bunch of different jokes for this, so we're good.
But yeah,
He's all over that.
Since I have discussed it before, my first day on set was, the beginning of the season when South Fork was on fire, and I had to jump into the pool with Larry, or JR in this case, and I was petrified of the water because I'd had a near drowning experience some years prior to that at like age 3. So yeah, that was a very difficult thing. But one thing that actually taught me that I still use till today is to overcome how to overcome fears, and how, like, once you get to the other side, if you make it to the other side, depending on what you're challenging, you're like, oh, why was I so scared? And I, like, for those next 2 years when we spent in Dallas, we were staying at the was it the Sheridan Marriott? Or
The Marriott.
Sheraton?
No, the Sheridan. Yeah.
was-
That's a good question. Sheridan by Marriott? Was it? Anyway, yeah. Shout out to either one of those.
It was the Sheridan Marriott Cost Plus Mega.
I have so many memories of that place, dude. Yes, whatever it was.
They had this indoor-outdoor pool, was separated with a little piece of glass, or a little glass piece, which was maybe 8 feet apart. Had 8 feet of distance, so I would jump from one side to the other until I figured out how to swim, and then eventually you couldn't keep me out of the water. And Josh and I, that's what we'd do all summer there. If we weren't working, we were just playing.
Or we would be in the lot. Remember the little blackjack table they would let us play at?
Ooh, that I don't.
Oh my God, that was one of the main. So like you pay $10. It wasn't real money, but they let you play for fun because we were like 8, 7, 9, whatever. But they would give you chips, and no one else would be playing. There'd be a dealer in like the bar area of the lobby, and I would just go down there and play blackjack at like 8, 9 years old. And it was just like the funnest thing. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, that was just my own.
I was going to say that, and that's when Josh realized that was the beginning of his gambling habit.
That's right. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Say that.
How long have you been
that
in
habit up young? How far in the hole have you gotten since?
Yeah,
then?
how long you been in Gamblers Anonymous now?
They're paying me to be on this podcast right now to erase my gambling debt. So yeah. Omri and I swam in that pool. Yeah, man, that's just flooding back memories. I totally forgot about that pool. That was everything to us.
That was. It's so cool. Indoor, outdoor, we're like, what? Didn't matter.
Yeah, for sure. You go under the thing. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, got tangential there.
And you did spend a lot of time in the pool on the show, and there was that scene where you kind of were cheating in the had a fight in the pool.
Mm-hmm. John Ross always cheated, and they always wrote John Ross as like JR's bad kid, so it was like anything that was like
just
sort
JR.
of gray area. Yeah, it was Omri was always the playing the I wasn't cheating character, and I was always the narc, or like the calling him out like you didn't do it right. So yeah, I have no recollection of anything different, but yeah, the pool scenes. I feel I only went into the South Fork pool a couple times. I was always at the lot. You and I felt that we were in the indoor studio pool, which I always thought was like wild. Yeah, I always felt like we did a lot of our scenes there as opposed to the one at South Fork. But that was so warm in there, wasn't? Yeah, but so was the one on the stage.
Stage, the pool was always warm as.
It was like hot. Yeah, it was like it was almost like a jacuzzi. Yeah. So every time we got in there, it was like
they would keep the AC blasting, and they always do in studios, to keep it. Obviously, there's a lot of workers and this and that, and so
that's true.
They keep it nice and warm. But to go back on like my character being the one that instigated things. I basically was JR's son. And, like, to play off of that, of my own character in real life, I'm the extreme narcissist in that show. And so, it was very easy for me to be John Ross.
Yeah, it's typecast.
I'm an extreme, typecasted.
Yeah, Omri was always, he frustrated me because, like, we were so close, and, like, I was fairly good at sports, and Omri shouldn't have been as good at sports as he was, so he would beat me at things, and I was a sore loser as a kid. Like, I couldn't imagine anyone that could, just as like a kid, like I was playing with like older kids, but Omri always seemed to like be at my level or better on a lot of sports. So that natural competition and rivalry was real. So I think that translated a bit in our scenes, weirdly enough, that I hadn't really realized until maybe years later, was like, I think the fact that we were so close and so much like brothers and so like into the same things really had this natural competition translate to our characters to whether that translated on screen for the audience, I don't know, but I definitely felt those in those moments when we were like fighting, or it was like we were calling on things that we were like probably just fighting, playing catch in the studio lot like 10 minutes before that. So it wasn't far out of our characters to sort of be like brothers.
Yeah, very much agree on that. So,
was it more fun fighting and not getting along on camera, or was it more fun?
I don't think. Yeah, no, I think it was just like, we were there, we had our lines, we know what we were there to do. But for the most part, like, look, we got along 90% of the time. It was just like we were around each other so much. At some point, there's going to be some, push and pull with kids. But no, I loved being on set when Omri was being there. It was like my buddy was going to be on set today. When we were working separately, it was kind of like not a bummer, but it was nicer to have him there. So yeah, I enjoyed any scene we could do together.
It was boring working with Patrick and Larry. We just wanted to play with each other all day.
Those were always like emotional, cores of the scenes, right? Like whenever we were working outside of each other, because he and I would run into a scene and like play catch and like something would happen fun. Whereas like if he was working with just Larry or just Linda and I was working with just Patrick, it was usually a story point that was like we both had to cry, or someone died in the show, or somebody else, something big happened that was a much different day, I think.
John Ross always seemed to get the
no buts.
Larry seal of approval for cheating and underhandedness, and said, well, you just got a head start, blah, blah, blah. And you talked about playing on set. I go back to the scene where you fired the gun outside at the pool. Right after the whole B.D. Calhoun thing where he kidnapped John Ross and you were all back. Bobby had the gun in the closet and Christopher goes in and gets it. And talk about gun safety on the set. I know because the whole Alec Baldwin thing. But we were talking, when we had that reunion at that dinner, Kerry was there for the prop master, talking about the gun scenes with Priscilla and all that. What do you remember about having to handle that gun on set? Just the protocols and everything. Because I know you also had to fire one when you were hunting.
That's the one that's the only one I really remember. But even then, like the safety protocols were very, very strict. The Wrangler it's a gun Wrangler. What do they call it?
Yeah, it's an armor.
The armor. I just remember them being very cautious, especially me being a child, not just for liability purposes, but kids are stupid. And so we do stupid things like, hey, what does this do? And so, from what I remember it was very, it was very regulated. So
yeah.
For what happened to Alec was just literally, I think, a very, out of the blue, just that shouldn't have happened. But I guess accidents can. So.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to speak on any of that. I don't know the circumstances. Wasn't there, but anytime
you had your gun scene too. It's
yeah. No, look, I I don't know if it's just the time is escaped me, and it's been a long time. I've actually, weirdly enough, in my career, I'm sure Omri as well, had multiple scenes in different shows where I handled firearms, and like whether it was shooting guns or whatever. Every time I've ever been involved with that, and I think it was that extra layer of safety because we were kids. There was no, T uncrossed. You're looking at very professional people. Like Carrie was the head of the props department, but there was a separate team that was handling, the armory and the guns and blanks and things of that nature. So there was never, and our parents are on set, and there's extra safeties. Like there's no jumping. It's a studio show. Like there's nothing that's going to be taken for granted in a situation like that. So the fact that I don't remember is a good thing, I think, because it was a non-issue. But I'm sure they even took us to a firing range or things of that nature to show us out at the ranch or whatever it was, to show us how things worked. And then when everything is ready to go, it's like lockdown, and everyone is on the same page. So yeah, we weren't just flipping around with guns and bullets and things on the set. So
Wild West. Yeah. And that also goes to like riding horse riding training.
100%.
We would always have to do a lot of, sorry, I got something stuck. We'd have to do a lot of off-camera rehearsing and training for the horses. We'd spend a good amount of time doing that kind of stuff. So, yeah, and it's funny how like that muscle memory or things that you do as a child kind of just, stick with you. Because I think if I jumped on a horse, I would pretty much remember how to do it, at least ride Western like we did. Yeah.
The exposure of things that we had access to, and people at the highest caliber of professionalism. When you're being trained in certain things just for a scene, you're getting the best education. So whether it's riding a horse, I've told this story before, Omri, and I might have said it to you, Josh, but I think I said it on one of our panels at one of these events. But I had on set later on in sort of I don't know what season it was, 13, 14 or something like that. Patrick and I had a scene on the ranch, but I think we shot out in Thousand Oaks or something. It was one of those ranches where we sort of was LA based. The horse got away from me. Like it took off. It got spooked, and it was running head first for a tree. And that was one of you had the pool incident where you were like kind of freaked out by doing that on your first day. That was the one incident in the entirety of my time on the show that I remember being scared, because I'd never like galloped or ridden fast. It was always like walking with Patrick or on a trail very slowly. And this horse, I don't know, it got spooked. It took off on me. And then Patrick sort of like ran it down with me on it. And it was heading towards a tree. And there was I remember seeing the overhang of like the branch. I'm like, I'm not going to hit the tree, but I may run head first into this limb. And I ducked under it, and it came to a stop, luckily. But that was the only time I've ever been like sort of, I don't want to say traumatized, but that was like the most memorable sort of incident that I've ever had on a set. And it's probably nothing to anybody else, but in the time when you're a kid, that spooked me for sure. But in terms of safety, like you'd have 30 wranglers around the set when there was any sort of livestock or, horses or anything of that nature. And we would be trained, and they would be very, very tame horses. It was just a happenstance of that situation. But yeah, so gun safety, anything that we were like roping, I remember learning how to rope cattle on those like hay bales. Remember that? Yeah. They had the head on the hay. Yeah. And I was like, I got obsessed with it. It was so fun. It was stationary, but things like that. Like they wanted us to look like kids that grew up on a farm, on a ranch. So yeah.
And you probably had
right.
You probably hadn't been on horses before doing Dallas, right?
No.
So that was a new experience. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
None of that Western ranch style of living. We're city slickers. We were children city slickers. We had no no idea on any of this stuff until we got to the show. And, you know, obviously to portray, you know, being natural at it, we had to practice.
Yeah. And in those moments, I don't think, at least for me, looking back on it, it was just something we did. Somebody told us that we had to do something in a scene. We wanted to do it well, but we didn't know how that was going to look on camera. It was like, yeah, you want to look good, so you learn it and you spend time sort of like trying to make it believable, but not in the case of like, we're these great actors. It was just somebody said you needed to do something, and both of us were fairly decent at like picking things up and being athletic, and nothing was too hard for us to like do in the moment. I don't think, like, whether it was like shooting a gun or roping a horse or hitting a target with something, you know, throwing a dart under your picture on a dartboard, like
there was a magnet involved. He's lying. The darts had magnets and they would just go there.
That's right. No That's right. I had a stunt dart thrower, actually.
Little 50-year-old man who you know, from the back looked like Josh.
That's right. There's someone on their knees.
I do remember.
There's always somebody out there.
Different show, but like when I was on Erie, Indiana, my stunt person was like this 35-year-old woman.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember you telling me about that.
It was a little person, you know? And she was my stunt person, but she had this like boyish little, she looked like a little kid from behind. So it worked out. So.
And you just did a podcast with Justin Schenkero, I believe.
Yeah, he's got his own podcast called I don't want to totally like train wreck this. Established in the 90s. No, it's called Established in the 90s. That's what it is.
Yeah, I was seeing that on Instagram. What, for people out there that aren't familiar, what just typically, when you're a child actor, what is the day like on set? And I know you had, at that dinner, we also had your tutor.
Sharon Sachs, yeah.
Sharon was there. You also, she talked about one of your co-stars there. Did you get much interaction with Brad Pitt when he was on there? I know you were at some public event together.
Yeah, I don't remember. I didn't even know he was on the show till somebody said. So I have no recollection of it, to be honest. But you know, obviously Shalane was a big part of it, and that's another person that kind of completed the trio of families, because we would do things offset a lot together and attend events and celebrate birthdays and do stuff like that together. But in terms of Brad Pitt, I don't even remember like a glimpse of
Steve doesn't remember him either, and he directed him in an episode.
Okay.
Well, unlike Omri, Brad Pitt and I are best friends. So sorry for that, Omri. Brad and I. Oh wait, he's calling me right now. No.
Gotta take this call.
I do have a action.
I didn't know you guys were best friends.
We're pen pals. Yeah, we stay in touch.
Oh, pen pals, huh?
That's right. We're old school. We write letters. We write letters to each other.
Pen paling.
Hey, whatever it takes to stay in his orbit. No, I actually do have a recollection of. I have a funny story. I don't know if I've told this story. Omri and I think. I don't know if Omri was there. I did a charity thing. We were always doing, you know, things to be like at events back then. It was sort of a big deal. Like they'd have the Ronald McDonald House had like a charity they had a big event in Malibu, I remember. And they like brought like a carnival into this big mansion and like had all these kids there. It was for kids and
paint on.
I don't know which one.
I think I have pictures of us.
Do you?
Yeah.
So shout out to my girlfriend in 5th grade, Shara. I had a big crush on Shara, and I invited her to this thing as like, hey, come be part of this event. You know, I was like, I'm gonna get some points on this. She was my classmate at my real school. 5th grade, took her there. Brad and I and Shara sitting at a bench talking for like a half hour, 45 minutes. and we had just ridden a bunch of rides. The one where you like on the carnival where you stand and the wall is like you're stuck to the wall. I did that, and then Shara and I went on the swings that go around, and then I threw up 7-Up. I'd only had 7-Up that day, and this is my first date with this girl that I like had a big crush on.
And last date.
Nah, I talked my way out of it. I knew Brad Pitt. She's not leaving. I threw up 7-Up on the ride, I remember, because of all the like foam in my stomach. Anyway, I was so embarrassed, and Brad and I sat and chatted for like 45 minutes, I remember, and he was just the nicest, and nobody knew who he was at the time, right? And then we went, Omri, you and I have pictures of like being at events at like Shalane's birthday, where Brad's there. So little did we know, I don't think we knew that Shalane and Brad were like supposedly dating, I think, in real life. Oh yeah, they were supposed to be, but she was like 16 and he was like 21 or something. But that's not here nor there. But I do remember chatting with Brad, and he was super nice back then. And again, it was I think one of his first roles. So yeah, we're best friends. I just wanted to say that. Shout out to Brad Pitt.
Tell him I say what up. Tell him I miss him. I miss hanging out.
I will.
Tell him he's got some danksters for him.
Yeah, I got some dank for you, dog.
I'm sure.
Dang,
Yeah. Is Brad Pitt doing anything these days? Like, is he?
I just saw him in F1. I watched.
Is he okay?
Yesterday.
I know. I'm kidding.
Oh,
Yeah. See, good one, Omri. Good.
Didn't get the sarcasm.
I lobbed it up for you. Just yeah.
But typically a day on set when you're.
Oh yeah, that was the question.
Yeah.
Day on set. So Omri and I would generally work a couple days a week or every other week. It just depended on the episode of how many scenes we'd be in and where they needed, us to land. So we would mostly go to our normal school, and then our teachers would essentially give us our homework or our work for those days that we're going to be gone. Our teachers were awesome. Our real teachers were great. Knowing that, they were helping us sort of continue our, without hiccup. So we would take that stuff, or our parents would take that stuff, and we would bring it to set, where Sharon, who you alluded to before, was our on-set teacher for all the years that I was there. I don't know if for Omri.
Yeah,
so
entire time.
Yeah, so Sharon was basically our it was just two of us in what they would give us, like a classroom, like an office trailer. If we were on set, they would, in a location, they would give us a trailer. If we were at the studio lot, they'd give us like an office room. And that was our we had to be mandated for a certain amount of hours every day in the class, i.e. we could only work so many hours as a kid. I think it was 8 hours, depending on your age. But 2 or 3 of those hours had to be additional hours that we had to beat in school. So we might have one scene be done in an hour or two, but then we'd have to stay for our schoolwork mandated by the state to sort of get it done. So whether it was an hour or 2 hours, depending on a half day or a full day, we had to sort of do our assignments, and whether we would just be on set for one day and go back to our regular school the next, or maybe it'd be Thursday, Friday that we would be on set and then go back to our regular school on Monday. So that's how it was for me. Some of us worked longer depending on the episode. Like Omri might be in 2 weeks of work on an episode, where I might have had a 1, and then vice versa depending on the storylines. But I think we tried to maintain as much of a healthy regimen of going to school in our real life, and then 1 or 2, 3 days where we would essentially be on set with our on-set tutor, which was Sharon.
Yeah, and basically, due to like child labor laws, in our age bracket, we were only allowed to work like 6, maybe 8 hours a day at max, and the school had to be incorporated in that time, classroom time or whatever studies. So, like a typical day would be like literally bring us in at the last minute, because we didn't require a lot of makeup or getting ready. So if, let's just say call time, or not call time, but shoot time is like 7 a.m. or something, they'd bring us in by like 6, get us a little acclimated, and then we would either go start doing some schoolwork because they're not ready, or we would go on set, bang out a couple scenes, and then or at least our angles. and then back to school and whatever, because they literally did not have much time to deal with us.
Yeah, I never really felt like we were up against it, because there wasn't like a big mandate of, like, we weren't the heroes of the episode, so it wasn't like we had multiple scenes. Like, we might have at most maybe 5 times we'd see ourselves on, in an episode. So over the course of 2 weeks that they'd shoot an episode, we could probably do that in 2 days. So there wasn't like a high demand where they were like, oh, we're up against it. The kids have to go. I think other jobs where we, later on in our career, where we were much more centered as, like, whether it was a movie we did that we were the leads, or Omri's, went on and did a bunch of, like, shows where he was that lead. Like, I'm sure they were up against the clock quite a bit on those shows. But for Dallas, it was an adult show, and we just happened to be the kids in that show. So there was very few episodes that I think were centered around us that they were ever up against, like, overtime or worried about arc time. It was pretty easy. And our parents, everyone was really cool. Like, they knew if we were getting close, they could rely on us to get it done.
Sure.
And you, speaking of episodes that you had a bigger part in, I remember, Omri, and I was going to pull up clips. It was a custody battle during the dream season, and you ran off to the treehouse, and you had that scene with Barbara Bel Geddes.
Yeah.
And I have actually clips of both of you with Barbara in scenes. What do you remember about just Barbara? Everyone loves Barbara, and just the way her grandmotherly presence on there.
She was, very true to character. She was very warm and sweet and always nurturing and always, I felt like there was that, energy of, like you said, like that grandmother, protective, just warm, kind-hearted, sweet person. So it really didn't fall far from her character one bit. I had nothing but fond and great memories working with her, especially on that scene. She was very helpful because I had to get emotional and stuff. And, you're not very in tune with your emotions at that age. You're kind of all over the place. And I think that was one of the first moments where I kind of grasped, like, the working off one another type of acting, because I think I just did it, and I didn't really know what I was doing until I had to be challenged with scenes like that, for instance, where I started to kind of realize, like, oh, okay, this is how this works. Like, you feed me, I feed you back, and yeah.
And Josh, you had a similar scene. There was in the kitchen at South Fork, which she was making soup.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Victoria had been kidnapped somewhere offset somewhere, and you were staying at the house, and she had her moment with you as well.
Yeah. I would say Barbara, to us, again, as kids, you don't really know what you think what you're doing is normal. Child actors, like, we just happen to be lucky enough to be in this situation and get these roles. But this is just what we did. We didn't go home and think about, scenes and, how I'm feeling and translating this into, at that time, especially on a TV show that we were on, twice every couple weeks. We did our jobs. We understood. And like Omri said, there wasn't, at that age, until you get to a place where you start realizing that the storyline needs a certain thing, or, someone else helping you out with a particular scene, you're just there to do your job. But when it comes to Barbara just, I don't know if I was told this and just somebody, or if I put it in my head, like, I felt like she was like my grandma. Like, I honestly just felt Barbara Bel Geddes was Miss Ellie, and that Miss Ellie was like a distant grandmother that I had, because that was the warmth and the compassion that she just calmed the set always. I think Omri felt the same way. As, like, when you came into a scene with Barbara, she was there with just like this like, she was like a warm bowl of soup, like cookies. Like, you just think that there's going to be chocolate chip cookies, warm chocolate chip cookies everywhere she goes. Like, that's how she felt in terms of just, like, my experience with her. It was such a pleasure to just be around her but I didn't know her as an actor. I didn't think of her as an actor. I just thought of her as this warm presence. So BBG, she would always sign things BBG. And I always just thought that was cool, you know, like she never really wrote out her name very much. And when she did, it was like BBG was on like, I just remember those little things about her that were so cool. And then as you get older and realize what a presence she was in this industry, I had no idea her history and the people on the show, like what her history of what she was able to accomplish and who she was to Hollywood and so many people is like, really? Like that's my grandma. Like that's grandma did all that.
You had her. You had Howard Keel. Presley,
oh my God, Howard Keel in the same breath is like the big. I just remember him being like, Josh, and you shake my hand. How are you? Huge hands, like these huge, warm, monstrous hands, and this beautiful presence of a man just like embracing you with like. Just like love. I don't know. Omri and I got really lucky with the people that we were around because I don't have a bad thing to say about anything that's ever happened on that show. Never a side eye. And maybe we were just too young to know what was going on, but everyone was so loving. That was it. Like just a lot of love for us. We were very lucky.
You know, there was a lot of family members involved in that show. And so that vibe just kind of existed regardless of, even when new people would come on, they would just kind of, it was just this, I don't know, there was just a good vibe the whole time. You're right. I never experienced anything bad. I mean, sure, I had my little, child tantrums when I was like, I just remember like one scene I did when I couldn't not squint at the bright lights. They were just blaring in my eyes, and I'm like doing my scene like this, and Leonard is just still being super cool, even though he's trying to tell me, he's like, I need you to open your eyes. I need you to, like, I don't know, be a zombie for a minute or something, you know? But he still kept it cool. I never got yelled at for being a brat. So
you were a brat.
Bright.
I was. You were.
Omri was a brat. I know. I was very shy. I was shy. I think it was just a shy thing. I minded my P's and Q's. I think you also had a couple years on me, right? So like you had a little more runway in terms of like what you could get away with, and you sussed it out a little bit more. I was just kind of, I was A to B, you know, come on set. Like I was the good younger brother. You were like the wild card, but you always got it done.
In our adult life, those
same
things still continued.
It translates. Yeah.
And you showed up, and Patrick was dead, and then he wasn't dead a year later, and then Victoria's gone, and it's like flip, and then Cherie showed up, and Kathy Podwell, and we know about Omri's favorite scene with Kathy.
I got some tongue in that one.
Wow.
I was like, Kathy, what are you doing? I'm like 11.
Oh my gosh, poor Kathy. No, Kathy, no, we know you didn't do that. I told her this on our last time I saw her. I said, Kathy, I don't think I've ever told you this. I remember us doing a scene. I'm like, this is how I have you in my mind.
Josh,
you were wearing...
I want to say this on live TV, bro.
You were wearing a like flowery like day dress, sundress. We were in a field, and there was this like halo of sun around her. And since I've been a child, that is how I think of Kathy Podwell, and it's still the same today. Like she still has this like ray of sunshine around her, and she's such a beautiful human. And for someone to come in and do what she did, and like again, like just integrate into the fabric of that show as a wild card character, like you couldn't have more grace than Kathy Podwell in that space. So I have very fond memories of Kathy. She was such a beautiful person. But yeah, that's how I see Kathy Podwell, is in a summery flower dress in a halo. So that's if anyone wants to know what's inside my head.
And then you obviously, within the last couple of years, you did those big events you were in Burbank, and then Omri couldn't make it to Texas that time, but you had two events. What was it like reuniting with everybody after all that time, and just even people that you weren't on camera with or shared scenes with.
Yeah, I've sort of stayed out of any sort of the reunions, or I went my way, and it wasn't anything that I just didn't think I don't know what it was. I just not many people tracked me down to do that stuff, but I was like, as I get older, these are the things that I'm proud of. I want to see these people. So it was a really great opportunity to say, and Omri called me. He's like, hey, this thing's happening. I can put you in touch. It wasn't until Omri was, kind of let them know that I was around and available. Having done it in Burbank, doing the first event at the Hollywood show, it was that I was proud of all the things that we had done on the show, and it was great to see everybody. And I realized like that bit of my life had missed for the past 20 plus years, 30 years. So it was really amazing experience. And I had my kid he showed up, and he got a picture with Patrick, and it was like trying to explain to him what was that all about. He's young.
He's like a mini you.
I know. He looks like a poor guy. And yeah, he's just a poor guy. He's just, and it's funny because like, he's totally different than I am. When we don't have to get into like, I love sports. He's like more of like a storyteller kind, and he's in third grade. He's about to do he's just gonna like try to do his first like play musical, and I'm like, oh no, don't get the acting bug. We don't need another Christopher coming through the halls. But like, yeah, it was just a really great experience to see everyone and reconnect, which parlayed into that event at South Fork, which I hadn't been back to in 30 plus years. So yeah, just cool bucket list.
Walking on set, walking on South Fork again after all that time. It must have been like
spotty memories, definitely spotty memories. I think we spent more time on the studio lot. We spent the summers in Texas because we were off school, so we would shoot the exteriors out at the ranch, and so we didn't use like, I don't think we used the ranch for a lot of the things. I think they spotted around different parts of Texas. And then we would use like, the outdoor pool and some of the corrals. I have spotty memories. I definitely have spotty memories of like the big warehouse that they have there that we had the dinners in. That was the Cattlemen's Club. Like I remember being in there a lot. And then we weren't allowed to be inside that house when we were filming there because a family lived there. So we could use the entryway. Yeah, right.
The sun, but it was very minimal. It wasn't like couldn't go upstairs, couldn't go like
totally.
They kept it very closed, sections closed.
Yeah, they cordoned it off definitely just for establishing shots, but we weren't allowed to like shoot anything in there. So I never spent a lot of time in the house. So when I was there at the event, I had been in it on I think the family had shown Omri and I around or something to that effect. I remember it in a cursory way, but being in it and sort of walking around and taking pictures and doing the thing, it was kind of foreign to me, to be completely honest. I know the patio and the pool, but that's about it.
Yeah. And that's probably where a continuity person had to come in really strong, because if you're going in the house and then you're picking up the scene 6 weeks later in the soundstage out in California, you got to say, okay, the briefcase was in the left hand or the right hand, and then what they're wearing and the haircuts and everything and stuff like that.
And that's,
sure.
that's the other thing too, is like you've been to South Fork now and you see how the interior looks absolutely nothing like what it did on the TV show, because all the interior stuff was shot, on a studio here. And so another reason, why they really wouldn't let us inside there, just basically the entryways. They would allow us to, go into the building like we're going inside,
right,
or coming out. But that was pretty much it. I do actually have some vague memories of what the interior looked like. But like I said, like I mentioned before, they had it all closed off. I don't know if it was it necessarily a family that lived there?
Yeah.
Or was it they were just trying to keep it pristine because foot traffic, like, I don't know if you've ever been on, well, you have, Josh, but when you go on location and even if the crew is super careful with making sure that the house doesn't get damaged, I mean, it's inevitable.
Yeah. It depends on the job, but that one, I forget when they sold it or when they moved out, but they had an original house for the pilot, and then they found South Fork. South Fork there was a stipulation that they didn't want anybody filming inside, so they could only use the exterior. So there was a family living there. I don't know when that translated, whether it was like, oh, the end couple of seasons, like I think maybe they didn't live there anymore, and maybe we could use more of the house. But yeah, there was a family. I remember them watching from the house. Like they'd always be watching our scenes outside because it was still like new to them in my early days. So yeah, there was a family that lived there, and then maybe later on they kind of just, gave us, direction not to go past a certain section. But yeah.
The original house burned down.
The original
ranch.
From the pilot, right? From the early ones, yeah.
There's a frame that's still standing there out in, I think it's in Frisco or wherever it was.
I got you. The original house they used for the pilot got burned in real life.
Yeah.
What do you
South
think?
Fork's still there.
If you guys were to guess, what do you think they would pay that family to rent that location for the day or the week or for that summer or whatever it was? What would you guys think the day rate was for?
Wow.
Well, if you look at
with today's
you can't commercial. Yeah. So, but if we did a commercial in LA, at a nice house with property, it's different than Dallas. Obviously, especially then, nobody was filming, multiple seasons. I'm sure they cut a massive deal. LA rates $15,000 to $20,000 to $30,000 a day for a commercial.
What?
Oh yeah, depending on. I mean, you can get cheaper houses, but if we're going out and location scouting for a commercial on location, you're looking at a day rate of somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 just for the house, and then you're talking about what you can and can't have access to. Then you got to rent the neighbor's lot. But the fact that there was like so much land there, and the fact is like, hey, this is the 80s. This is never before done on this scale kind of thing in Texas. I'm sure they were able to cut a massive deal. But from what I learned later on was like they were very reticent. The family was very reticent to allow them to shoot there. They didn't want that. So I think they had to do some serious negotiating. But
they probably had a little bit of leverage, because it's like once it becomes iconic. I mean, other than building it elsewhere, like a faux house,
which they did on set.
They did on set, yeah. And it was, that was.
There's a South Fork trailer park that has a replica of the house right around the corner.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And it was like, that was my first experience of like backdrops, like really like.
Yeah.
It looked like a ranch, and you couldn't tell on screen.
Well, you could, and I think that was the funny thing was like, in my mind, I was like, that's supposed to be the outside. I never understood, like, how can that be the outside? In some shots, you could definitely tell. But that's what happened. That's what TV was back in the day, right? I mean,
you could tell when they were on location, you'd show the car driving up the driveway and pulling in. But when you were on set, they would just have the car coming on.
Roll in. Yeah, it'd be the last few feet. The last few feet, yeah. There was some runway there. There was a proper driveway. I remember the Cadillac pulling in the last 10, 15 feet quite a bit. Bobby's red Cadillac. That happened quite a bit, where we would run out of the, daddy, whatever, JR's home, whatever. We'd run out.
Cadillac or red Mercedes?
That got blown up with Victoria.
Oh, was it? Yeah, was it a Mercedes or a Cadillac? Somebody had a Cadillac.
Mercedes convertible.
There was a Mercedes too.
Larry drove the SL. I remember that when the new SL came on.
Bobby had a Cadillac, I think.
Okay.
Then I think the car got blown up in JR Returns.
Yeah, I wasn't involved in that.
And funny that comes up. He was supposed to call in, but I'm doing a podcast with. Yep, doing one with him next week. He was going to call. He was going to pop up here and surprise you guys, but
I've never met Chris. I know of Chris very well, but I've never met Chris.
And I haven't spoken to him since that shoot. So.
And he said he's a Beastie Boys fan to this day because of you.
Oh, look at that!
Exactly.
You got some good influence.
Omri thought he honestly thought he was 21 when he was like 9.
Right.
That's how he lived his life. like he had no problems going up to people and asking for things, or the most outlandish things. Omri had no problems like getting himself involved in. He had no fear.
And to actually piggyback on that, or on what Josh was talking about, is so basically both of us started at such a young age that we were just surrounded by adults a lot of times. So a lot of that influence kind of just spewed into us naturally. That's why when Josh would come over to my house, he's like, "Why do you have pinup girls and cars and water beds?" And so when I would be on set, I remember like the gaffers section or the lighting or wherever they were, they always had like pinup girls, and like this was a different time. It was a different time, but they had calendars and they had girls, and there was all this adult talk, and it's not that I connected with it, but I think all kids want to be taken seriously to some degree. And it's like, shut up, kid. What do you know? And so you try to act like adult. You're mimicking and mocking what you see because you think you're going to gain respect out of it. But little do you know, you're this dweeby little thing, and nobody's going to ever look at you and say, "Oh, wow, that kid is really, knows a lot." So, yeah, that's where a lot of those influences came from.
And then after the show, obviously, you both actually have appeared in some iconic things. Josh, you were popped up on Star Trek: The Next Generation at one point, and Twin Peaks, so part of some cult classics there. And Omri, you obviously, Dallas and Hocus Pocus there. You do the Hocus Pocus tour every year. In fact, coming back to Salem again, I think.
We'll be back in Salem. October. We'll be this
it's
year.
It's just a bunch of Halloween.com, everybody.
It's just a bunch of Halloween.com. Go subscribe and get information so you can get first on the ticket list, because those things sell out fast. We literally, before it even went out to the public, it was sold out.
Is the capacity of 10?
Well,
capacity of 10, exactly.
You're right.
The porta potty sold out.
They're small events.
No, you're crushing it. It's awesome to see you guys hanging on to the fun stuff that people like.
Yeah,
and you got 90s Con coming up in March with who's going to be there?
Kenny Ortega's going to be there.
Kenny Ortega. Thor's turning up.
Yeah, Thora, me, Vanessa Jason, Kenny Ortega, Larry Tobias. Kind of a big crew.
And
check this out. I'll say hi for you, Josh, but Patrick Duffy and Sasha will be there as well, because they're doing a step-by-step reunion thing.
And we are coming up on 50th anniversary of Dallas in 2 years from now. So, and Omri, you're going to
anniversary. Oh my!
Yeah, it started in '78, right?
Omri, you're going to be hitting. Speaking of 50.
Speaking of 50. Well,
this
my year.
Oh boy.
I know I look 60, but I'm only going to be 50.
I feel 80, so we're good.
Yeah. So.
Well, you look 20, sir.
Thank you. It's the filters.
Yes. Omri, you mentioned at one point, you and Josh were working on, or had some idea at some point of after Dallas, you thought of like some sequel thing or something at some point. You mentioned you had an idea for something at some point. Josh is laughing.
Yeah. No, that's I'll pick it up from.
I was just going to say, we have a lot of like interesting ideas. Some of it is just fun and funny, but I think we could definitely have something. So. Well,
we were, look, nobody reached out for the reboot, right? So it was sort of like out of that, we were just nudging each other as kind of like joking, like nobody cares about us. I'm like, we should do our sort of like mockumentary style, like former child actors trying to get a role on the reboot, and nobody takes us seriously. Kind of like they've done mockumentary stuff like this, but it would be funny, like, two kids just trying to like rekindle their youth as like child actors, and nobody wants to open the door and like take a meeting. or anyone cares. So we thought that would be a really funny, and we bounced it. I don't know if it was ever serious, but I'm still in the industry from behind the camera, so that's producing stuff and directing stuff. So it was more of like, would this be a fun little side project for he and I to sort of go out and like shoot a little sizzle or a pilot to kind of sell through as like a comedy, mockumentary vibe. I thought it was kind of funny.
That
like
reminded me of
like in Spinal Tap style, Like
documentary,
just like really being over the top and just making fun of the industry because.
Well, you're making fun of yourself too. I mean, that's really what was the fun thing, right? Yeah. It was,
and there's a lot to make fun of, right?
There is a lot.
Oh my God. And just the things we can pull from as child actors, like that we could ride into these things that we experienced firsthand, would be kind of funny. Like we're sort of the characters would have been trapped in sort of who they thought they were back then and who they extrapolate who they are now. But both just trying to make ends meet. So if anyone wants to help produce that or write that, I'm open. We can give me a call.
You know who did something like that was David Faustino. He had that Starving.
Yeah.
And there was one episode where they were going to do a Married with Children reboot, and they replaced him with Seth Green.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even take a meeting with him. So that's what.
Yeah. There you go. So it's not even an original idea. I think it's been done or at least tried a few times. I forget where else I've seen something like that, but it really came out of the place of like when the Dallas reboot came around. It was like, they don't even want us to do a cameo. Like, has anyone reached out to you? And he's like, nope. Like, dang, this show is based around us. Like, Jesse Metcalf plays me and Josh Henderson plays Omri's character, and it was like, couldn't we be like waiters in a scene? Isn't that sort of like a little fun Easter egg for the audience? Nope, nobody cared.
The house butler. You're the house
butler.
Yeah,
just like walking by. Yeah, anything. Nobody cared.
That happened to you all in Hocus Pocus.
Be anything else.
That happened to you guys being dropped from Hocus Pocus too, Omri, all you people.
Oh man, that hurts.
Yeah, I honestly, I dropped out of the scene a long time ago, so it really didn't have any effect on me. I was like, sure, I'd be a part or not. I think, but, back to like how Josh was describing it is that, for the true fans, the fans want, they connected with something and then you bring a new product. It's kind of like, Coke. And then there was like a new Coke that came out, and everybody was like, "What the frick? This is garbage!" Yeah. Everybody wanted the original Coke.
Well, you're no Coke, Omri. You're no Coke, man.
I'm not saying
that's a joke.
Is an analogy.
Vanilla Coke.
Right.
I think I don't think it has anything to do, and I'm not stepping on what you're saying, Omri. I think there's a nostalgia factor there, right? It's like obviously we were the kids on the show, so easily replaceable, totally fine. But there is a sort of callback to the nostalgia factor of, a lot of other characters in the show like were brought back for the reboot, and not to say that like we needed to be in it or anything, but it was just kind of like today, if I was going to go out and like reboot a show, you'd go off and see like where the storylines could take you from the original show and see who'd be interested. And since it was based around our characters, you'd think at least there'd be some sort of translation to a fun little cameo that would be produced into the show or not. But from Omri's perspective, like that Hocus Pocus was a juggernaut, right? You'd think that some aspect of, his character who led that thing would be sort of translated for a cameo in the new one. So from my perspective, I thought that was, an obvious choice.
If he hadn't lit that candle, then there wouldn't have been a Hocus Pocus. So come on, people.
There you go. Wasn't there a cat or something? Wasn't there cats and stuff?
Yeah,
Mars.
Yeah, it's like even when I talked to some of those fellow castmates about that movie, from my perspective, when I went in to do that, I kind of just move onward. I don't really think of like, how's this going to be portrayed in the future? Or how long is this going to last? The fact that it's like built its own legs was kind of like, to me, very shocking and surprising. And I'm super stoked that I'm a part of it, because it's like, sweet, all right, I can get something really cool out of this, in the future. But like the Dallas reboot, it's just a lot of that fan base is not, I guess, as proficient in the technology, like the things that everybody reminisces about in the 90s, just still has a huge following, because that's kind of the beginning of the tech generation. And, the Dallas generation is, our parents, like me and Josh's parents were kind of like, when the reboot came, I think it's just the wrong place at the wrong time. I never saw the show personally, and I'm very out of the industry. I'm sure it's evolved and gotten very, a lot different than it was back then. But yeah,
And Larry passed while they were filming that as well. So.
What, when they were filming during the Dallas reboot?
Yep,
yeah.
They had to kill him.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize.
Yeah,
I thought he died. I thought it got canceled and then he died.
No, it was part of the. Yeah, they had to work out the storyline. I didn't watch it either. But yeah, I've heard great things about it. People really love that show, but we're in a different time, and it's no hard feelings. It was just kind of funny that, like, nope, see you later. Like, it was just like but like, it's fun to see, Josh Henderson in a totally different generation of, like, his experience on Dallas, talk about, like, his ownership of that reboot. Or, I haven't talked to Jesse Metcalf, but they had a totally different experience than how Omri and I grew up on the show. So we have a sense of pride as kids in, like, a totally different generation, where, Josh Henderson came in it as an adult, and I've talked to him, and I see his excitement for the show as, a later presence, and, a much later part of the series, and a new audience finding it. So it's interesting to see how well received Dallas has been for so many years. As you're saying, 50 years, we just were lucky to sort of be on it.
And the streaming that picked it up during the pandemic, when people just started discovering it again, gave it a swift kick too. So
it was the longest running show in history for a long time. I know The Simpsons, like, ended up beating it, but for a drama, we had 300 plus episodes, I remember, or whatever it was.
Yeah, 13 or 14 seasons, right?
14 seasons. But, like, it was, we would do 35, 36 episodes a season. Like, you don't see orders for that ever. You might get 8 or 10 if you're lucky on something.
Weekly, yeah, if it's a weekly show, for sure.
Now it's quality over quantity. They're trying to stress.
Yeah, I think that's right. At least they're trying. Yeah, there's each episode of a series these days is like a mini movie where like it's less soap opera. Yeah, exactly. Totally different ballpark.
So anything, Josh? What do you got working on now these days? Before we wrap up, anything you?
Yeah, I mean, it's constant. I'm sort of a nomad in the industry in terms of behind the scenes, putting, whether it's films, trying to put films together, or directing commercials, or doing various, deals with brands, trying to produce content. Essentially, I'm a mixed bag. My production company sort of deals in a lot of different areas, whether it's, IP, or we have a strong relationship out of the Middle East. I was living in Dubai for quite a while, doing a lot of films and documentaries and commercials out of there. So there's just finding cool projects and sinking our teeth into it, and just staying busy that way. So I was just out in Saudi Arabia this past year doing some work out there. It's just the Middle East. The experience that I've had out there is, it's the Wild West when it comes to entertainment and sports and culture, and they're really trying to make a name for themselves. So when you're involved in something that has that much momentum, it's unlike anywhere else in the world. So you get an opportunity to deal with the biggest brands and the biggest talent to do the biggest projects, and no one else is doing things like that. And so it's really exciting when, we get an opportunity to work out there. and do some of these big, massive scale events or big shows. It's really fun.
Excellent. All right. So now we'll wrap up. We've been on for just over an hour. So anything you want to throw out there, people, before we?
I think we should do this weekly. Omri and I could definitely get a lot of demons out.
My connection's going bad. Weekly sounds great. Daily, preferably.
Daily, yeah. Yes. We'll just live stream our FaceTimes, and we'll just have chats
24/7. Just make sure you get a good battery pack for your phone.
No, we appreciate the time, dude. And look, I think Omri and I have unique perspective on things. That doesn't mean anyone wants to hear it, but I enjoy having had this experience, not just the podcast. You've been great, Josh, but the experience that Omri and I have shared in our life is very few and far between. I know a lot of other kids have that opportunity when they're child actors to have castmates and things of that nature. But from the horrors of this industry, Omri and I were very lucky, and I think we have nothing but glowing things to say about everyone that was involved in Dallas and has been since. At least from my perspective, we've been on a lot of sets. We've done a lot of episodes and shows and things that we got very lucky at early ages and went off and did our thing. But Omri is always going to be like my brother. And, we've experienced something together that, that nobody else is can take away from us. And I think that's very special. So, I appreciate any opportunity to sort of revisit those memories, whether they're few and far between. I have spotty memories back in the day, but they're always good ones with Omri.
I mean, look, we're talking 40 plus years ago, some of these memories. So yeah, it's hard to keep that in the memory bank. And lucky for Josh and I that we really ended up on the good side of things, because there is a lot of horrors in this industry, especially with the exploitation of children. You're a product, and a lot of these people's pursuits are just monetarily based, not really the well-being or the psychological well-being of any of us as individuals in the future. So lucky for us, we ended up okay. It's sad for a lot of the child actors that didn't end up so well. So I'm very grateful for that. And
we tip our cap to some of those that are not with us anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Leonard Katzman, it started from him. He was the captain of the ship, and his warmth to us.
Michael Priest, who just passed away last
Michael,
year.
Michael was an amazing
people. Solid people.
Great.
Again, it was a family. It literally was just such it just felt like everybody got along so well.
Well, let me throw this to you. I know we're wrapping up here, but Omri, describe the energy shift. You and I would be first on set because they'd want to make sure the kids were there, but not first on set, but ready for the scene. And then they'd get the shot ready, and then Patrick and Larry would come out, and the entire set would just become like a roast show. They would just start the comedy hour for 10 minutes. These two guys and this is what we expected, was just natural and what happens every time. Little did we know that we were in the presence of just Patrick was the funniest guy ever. The comedy between them, when Larry and Patrick would come on set, would just turn the energy up and change the dynamic of that place that I'll never forget. That was always what I remember.
That was hilarious. I remember I offended Larry once. He asked me, he's like, "Who's your favorite comedian?" And I said Eddie Murphy, because I was like, Eddie Murphy's just the shit right now.
Football of my life.
Yeah, he's like, "What?" He's like, "I'm not your favorite comedian." I don't think he was really offended, but It was that funny on set. There was no dull moments. I later found out that You know, they'd be doing a little bit of swilling in the back, like before, you know, I would too probably if I was
I'm sure.
like that, just to, you know, because they just knew how to bang out and nail all that stuff. It was easy peasy for them to some degree, because I think they just enjoyed it so much that, you know, nobody took the work seriously as much. However, it got done very seriously.
Yeah, I can't speak for that. I think those guys were very serious, but they knew where they could play, right? They were like, they were consummate professionals. They knew how to keep a light tone, turn it up when needed. But they knew their characters and they knew what they were involved with. By the time we came on the show, the Dallas had become an absolute behemoth. So I'm sure there wasn't much going wrong for those guys in those days, you know, like from personal and just professionally, you're at the top of the iceberg, you know. It's like that's a fun place to be. So, you know, I can't speak for them obviously, but they let everyone enjoy themselves. I think they were a bright light on that set always.
I think you could just see it in general, like just the energy on the set and the energy between them. Like it flowed so naturally that it allowed everybody to have a little bit of flexibility and a little playing room to just have some fun, and let's get the job done, but let's have fun doing it. Like that.
And very rarely, not to step on you, but like very rarely would they miss a line. Like there was never these like gaps of like, oh, you know, I don't know what I'm doing here. It was professional, you know. We'd be in a scene at 2-3 takes and we'd be moving on. So Omri and I probably had some takes that we did in one, you know. So very professional environment, but a very loving, warm space.
Omri, give a plug for the Danksters while you're here.
All right, hey, you know, like we're finally about to be on shelves. We got our cultivation place up and running. We're bringing out some super fire, super heat, dank buds. I'm really excited. Obviously,
Hocus Mocus?
Hocus Mocus, Hocus Tocus.
Oh man, that's amazing.
TheMerryDanksters.com, and yeah, just keep an eye out. You can go to our website. We're pushing through, and 2026 is going to be a big year for us. I feel like
Puffy Duffy.
Yeah, what was that joke I had when we did the Burbank show? We'll change it. We'll create a strain called Patrick Puffy. But we did come up with another funny thing. If I come out with like a hash oil line, it'll be called Ewing Oil. So might as well.
You better check the trademark on that one.
That's okay. It's totally different. It's a totally different category.
You could call it Ewing Goyle.
Ewing Goyle. Remember that? Yeah. That's one thing Leonard used to get on me. He was like, "Stop saying Ewing Goyle. It's Ewing. Just say Ewing Oil. Say Ewing Oil." I'm like, Ewing Goyle? Ewing Goyle. Okay.
Ewing Goyle. Yeah.
That's right. And we got the shirt on here.
There you go. Look at that. I think that's funny.
By the way.
They're funny, dude.
The shirt and the Danksters here.
Yeah, no, Josh hit me up before the event, and he's like, "I got these great ideas for shirts," and I was like, "Dude, go with it!" Like, so hit the nail on the head. Like, you have to. It was funny. Now. You have to. So
I had probably 100 different ideas for shirts because it was the first time I'd been back, and I just thought it would be funny. And then I was like, I made a couple for myself, and then some people were asking like where to get them, and I, you know, obviously you got one, so thanks, Josh. Thanks for. It says, "Is it because I'm adopted?" Because of obvious storylines that I was always involved in my character.
As I alluded to earlier, gonna have Chris on next week, and Amy Stock is coming on next Tuesday.
Love Amy.
Tried to steal you from.
Do I know Amy?
Yeah, you know Amy.
Yeah, you met her. She was at Burbank.
Okay, yeah.
There were a lot of people in Burbank.
You know
Amy.
Amy.
Surprise, guys.
Yeah, it's that dank. His brain is dank, everyone.
Yeah.
So
not the concussions. It's just the dank.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Ewing Barbecue Podcast. Look for episodes that Mary is editing now and catching up on since she's been out of commission, and we're gonna hopefully be back up soon. And have other guests on. I think Sue Cabral is going to join us at some point with Carrie. And might have Janine Turner pop in too, so stay tuned.
Good.
Stay tuned. The